really worked out well for CLG. How can Trifecta adjust in Game 2 is the question. Let's go over to picks and bans and find out. Trifecta in that first pick slot again. The Freya, I mean, we asked Mixer Chat, who was going to win. Trifecta had a pretty overwhelming majority in that. I think it was because of the Freya selection that they had, but it didn't end up doing a whole lot for Paul.
No, not this time around. They could never really transition safely away from that early game. There was just too much late game focus. Maybe if they had a different jungler besides the Mercury, maybe even a Thor potentially would have been better. Some more ability damage instead of getting too close to the action. And some setup would have been phenomenal. That Thor wall, setting up the Freya pot shots, that would have been good.
Certainly lacking some AoE damage, I think, for Trifecta. We'll see if they can remedy that with this draft, as very similar bans right at the beginning, and Freya is on the table once more for Paul if he decides to go for it. I do think that it's still worth going here in Trifecta, and they do indeed, but I do think that trying to get some AoE in the composition is important, and an On Her that can actually pierce targets with Desert Fury, a Hu Yi maybe with that Sunbreaker. I think things like that coming out of your dual lane become more important when you've got a single target damage dealer like Freya.
I think they're going to need like their Guardian before the secondary ban phase this time around. Maybe get that extra peel going, perhaps the Kumakarna, maybe even a Geb if they're really looking for that extra protection and allow the Freya to run wild. That could be important for Nilma.
Kumakarna was selected before the second ban phase in Game 1. In fact, it was right here, but this time Trifecta focusing on their jungler. You're looking for AoE, Susano can provide it with that Typhoon. I like this pickup for Mask. CLG, on the other hand, they went for the exact same Terra Rat. But look at this for Trifecta. They go AoE jungler, AoE Hunter in Medusa. I think this is a great response to what their problems were in Game 1.
And they don't want to have the run back special where Snoopy was just
no.
phenomenal with that Medusa, finding a solo kill onto Zapman. And his build was very interesting as well, going for the Bloodforge into the Odysseus bow. In typical Snoopy fashion, just going away from the meta.
Always. Snoopy's always trying to throw some weird stuff at you. The Morrigan, again, CLG going for the exact same first 3 picks. I don't think that there was anything wrong with these first 3 picks. And it still leaves them pretty flexible with their last 2. They're just looking for their final side laners, the ADC and the solo lane. And you can make up a lot of what your composition is lacking in those 2 picks.
You can't ban away both. You got to choose one or the other, FineOK or Snoopy. You're going to ban away the On Her from Snoopy, but now I'm thinking you got to ban away the Hercules from FineOK. You can't allow that to go through.
Yeah, exactly. And something to keep in mind, but we'll see if that's where Trifecta is going to go in this spot. Odin and Sylvanas banned by CLG, and it is the Hu Yi instead. So instead focusing out Snoopy, letting FineOK take whatever he chooses. CLG can wait until that final pick. Let's see what Scary D is playing in that lane so that Fine can get his proper lane matchup. But if Scary D goes back to the Cucullin, it wouldn't surprise me to see that Hercules for FineOK.
Ullr selected very early, considering that already having a Freya and a Medusa for Trifecta. So I don't think Ullr needed to be picked, but I think that CLG want to make sure that the Hercules would be in the best possible timing. And against an RDO that has that crippling minefield, not ideal to run a Hercules against that.
Fafnir going to round out the draft here for a Trifecta. I like this draft far more for Trifecta than I did the Game 1 draft. Game 1 just kind of felt like, what do you guys feel like playing today? You know what I mean? Didn't really seem like a cohesive composition. This feels much more like Trifecta is here to play with their own style of comp. Is Sobek going to be the final pick? That'll be for FineOK in that solo lane. Still plenty of CC on CLG's side, but Trifecta has a much better looking team composition in my mind. Is that enough for you to vote for Trifecta over CLG? Go ahead and get your vote in now. Toli, why don't you go ahead and name me 3 ways Trifecta can win this game?
3 ways Trifecta can win?
Just give me 3 ways.
Invade Homie FA.
Okay.
Make sure Morrigan is never comfortable.
Okay.
That's the second one.
Maybe turn down the heat in there. Maybe make it a little cold in there. Okay.
Maybe. That could be another way.
That'd be uncomfortable. In your 3rd way?
I think that's a good one.
Oh, okay. All right, then that's all 3. There you go. Trifecta, they just have to do one of those 3, and they'll find the victory. We'll see if that's what happens. Hoping for a little bit of a longer one with the shorter games here so far today. Let's throw it over to Hindu and Taco for the cast.
Well, I do think with Trifecta's composition here, just like the analyst was saying there, Taco, looks a little bit better for Trifecta here. Nice little rounded composition. I'm excited to see how this works out.
The Medusa and Susano picks are the main ones that I'm really looking forward to here, because Mass, we all know that he probably was feeling a lot of frustration in that last game trying to deal with Jigs on that Terra, because it doesn't matter if it's on accident or on purpose. You never know when a Monolith is going to cut you off with that Mercury.
Very true indeed. Now the question is how things work for CLG this game. Similar sort of composition, couple of changes for them. Obviously Sobek in the solo lane, not the Achilles, and Snoopy on the ult, because obviously Medusa was taken by Zapman.
Something else that I also want to point out is that we've been seeing a lot more junglers being able to solo their speed buffs again. For a while, we saw a lot of mid laners choosing to just share that farm so they'd hit level 2 right away from the first wave, but Hurrywin and Paul instead choosing to duke it out on the first wave.
Another thing that's the thing is, like, you just farm up that first wave, then play relatively safe. It also means that if you're going to get solo experience, I mean, it's also the lane pressure, I guess, is the other thing, because you start in the lane straight away. If one person does it, you kind of have to do it too, otherwise you may be at a deficit because of that.
And you never know if they're going to try to invade your red buff shortly afterwards, which is what can be really scary in these sort of matches. And as often as you can, you just want to try and avoid having the enemy team in your jungle.
Definitely think some of that is to do with the build starts as well, having a couple more potions at their disposal, because we would see the blessings, you know, normally. But now we've not got the blessings, we see quicker bases to get those boots online. As you can see from the Morrigan in the mid lane right now, that's already got full shoes of focus.
Hurrywin has just been heavily prioritizing this boots rush, and I almost can't blame him for it. It seemed to work out incredibly well last game, not to mention that he's going to have that 10% cooldown reduction, as is way more mobility than Paul, and that could possibly lead to some early kills.
We'll see how this develops as the season progresses, so definitely moving away from some of the blessings. Juggler's definitely still going to keep that Assassin's one, though. I'm not surprised to see that not be moved, and I'm pretty sure we're still going to see Guardian's Blessing on those supports. But the other roles, well, that's up for debate now.
Well, solo lane, we all know what's going to be happening there for the next 20 minutes, pretty much. Sobek and Artio.
What a game.
These two are remembering the fine life of being by themselves.
I mean, I don't play a lot of solo, and I think that's the reason why. Like, I'm playing a Guardian versus a Guardian. At least in the duel lane, I get to farm a Hunter.
They're not going anywhere anytime soon. Those two are just going to... There's zero reason, practically, for either side to really want to look for an invade there.
Is there gank potential from either team, though, in that lane at all?
It's usually not worth it, especially when you consider that if one side does choose to gank the other solo, you have to be concerned about the timing of it. And timing is really what's the most important part about any gank, of course, during the first 10 minutes. It's just... You've got to make sure that you're building it around the buff respawn. So if CLG or Trifecta wanted to look for a gank opportunity, they'd probably need to be doing it when that blue buff is just about to spawn, so they can look for poke, see if they can get an advantage. Even if it's a slight one, it can still make a difference.
There we go, but if they can get Tussle in the dual lane, as you'd expect. Wolves didn't get clapped instead. It's Neilmar who eats a bit more poke from Snoopy there. Advantage for CLG in this lane, which you kind of expect with the comp they've got. Uld in the early game, definitely a powerhouse you've got to be aware of. As the game goes on, though, I mean, Medusa will come into her own.
One big difference I am noting, Neilmar hasn't died yet, and that's important. No early gank from Homiefe this time around. Zap and Neilmar both choosing to play this one just a little bit closer to the book.
And Fafnir as well, going to be very useful in this game when you look at the composition he's got, being able to steroid his team a little bit more so, especially with, you know, Paul with that ranged as well as Zapman. Going to be very useful throughout this game.
And I also like that both of these hunters are choosing to just try and rush the Transcendence outright, recognizing, I think Zap especially noticed the difference between Snoopy having the capability to just build that Transcendence right away was an infinitely stronger power curve for him, as opposed to Zapman having to wait out until he had those Devourer Gauntlets and then the boots, because he picked up the Blessing and was trying to go for a different build path.
CLG definitely still being aggressive in this duel lane, trying to keep Trifecta off the experience as much as possible, which pushes them up a little bit more so, as you can see. So they do get chipped away. It costs a little bit of mana for CLG, but not doom and gloom. Left-hand side, Homiefe at level 5 now, going to meet Paul in the jungle.
Oh, he's going to meet him head on even. Dashes right into him. Doesn't have, or he's choosing not to use those purification beads right away, assuming that Paul doesn't have a whole lot of kill potential, and that's why we see Homie just moving towards that dual lane, just in case you wanted Jigs and Snoopy to back him up.
Because he couldn't really ult there, that's the one thing that's not going to help him out. Because you ult there, Fraser's going to burst you down during that stage. The little ding you just heard is those blessings that have now fully evolved for those supports. So now they're going to get a little bit more bonus gold in their coffers.
He probably also didn't want to lose that through the Cosmos, because then Trifecta know they don't have to worry about being ganked, period, in duo, and that's the main threat that a Rat poses in the early game. Speaking of which, FineOK off the mark with that pluck, but he's about to have some assistance.
He also secured his own blue buff against 2 members. That ultimate comes through from Homie FA. Causes a couple of problems for Masked and Scaredy, who both get away. But in the sky, is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's Hurrywin. Paul, under pressure. He needs to get his ult off if he can. And he'll do so just in time and get himself a kill. But on landing, Homie FA's there to pick up the scraps, and Mask came in to help and could have lost his life too.
Ooh, the creeps nearly take down Mask in the process. Had it not been for Scary D showing face, I think we would have seen a little bit more commit there from CLG, but having such low mana bars, they didn't want to chance it into the RDO.
Who did that work out for overall? I mean, it's 1 for 1. Obviously, first blood gold goes one team's way. Was there an advantage there?
Probably still favoring Hurrywin, simply because he's still getting a chance to stay in lane and farm up just a little bit more, and that'll make up the difference between the first blood bounty that Paul just received.
And Paul has that Book of Toph. Got boots too now, closer towards getting his full boots online as he hits level 7, matching that of Hurrywind at the moment. We'll see how this continues and what's going to happen next.
That probably should have been a 2-for-1 in CLG's favor. Just Mass barely managing to slip away here. And now I also want to draw attention towards the way that CLG chose to play that out, because they knew in the blue buff they had the home field advantage there, but I just like that Hurrywin chose to ult from so far away.
Yeah.
He could have chosen to turn into Zatman even and look to use that Petrify.
Well, we talked about the solo lane, and gank potential's not really that easy, but Homie FA is going to sniff around here and show face for a moment or two, making sure Scary doesn't continue to pressure this lane for the time being.
It can be difficult, but as an RDO, you're normally not going to have to be all that concerned of dying, even from Homie FA showing his face.
Okay, last time Trifecta went for this blue buff, it didn't work out so well. A, they didn't steal it, and B, they lost a life. They're going for it again, and I think FineOK saved it again.
Now this time around, FineOK is going to have to watch that blue buff just melt away from him. Great job there from Neil and Scary D, and also Masked, but I love that Trifecta were all just grouped up. They just caught CLG out of position.
Yeah, it was a nice little play, just trying to find an advantage somewhere on the map against the Sobek in the side. Technically no kill potential for the Sobek, sure, but he can definitely control the lane and survive a long period at the moment. Red buff goes to Zatman here now then, who's got his Transcendence and working towards his boots. Snoopy with the Transcendence too. Stack-wise, slight advantage for Snoopy, which will be evened up by Zatman momentarily.
Keep in mind also that FineOK opted for the Guardian's Blessing first and foremost. He didn't go for that Warrior's Blessing like Scary D, and I like that he went for Guardians just in case, because even when the creeps hit the tower line, you don't have to worry about losing that much gold.
You're going to lose gold anyway to the tower, right? But you luckily enough, in Season 5, a lot of changes happen where you still get some of the gold and all the experience from it dying to the tower, but you get the stacks, which is helpful. And now he's gone for the Stone of Binding, which is an amazing item on Sobek, just because every single skill is technically CC.
FineOK's entire purpose this time around, I think, is going to be just to try and isolate a single member from Trifecta. I like the pluck and the tail whips that he was using against Paul when they found that kill on him initially.
Yeah.
Paul also went for an Aegis. This is a rather risky first relic buy into the draft that CLG have. Sure, if you get the timing right, you can avoid the initial burst damage from through the Cosmos or from Hurrywin, but you still have to worry about being able to be pulled out of position.
You know what, Taco? I think you're right there, because I think what should happen now is CLG, they've got a bit of a window here before Paul hits level 12 now, where they've got the damage to burst him if they can catch him in a CC chain. Hurrywind, Homie, and Jigs all have solid CC, so Paul has to be very safe for a little while.
No vision on that lower right mid Harpy side for Trifecta, but still not looking to take any chances venturing too far into the jungle. And Paul knows that he has to try and stay safe. One death, not going to really feel it too much. A secondary one, and you might start to see Hurrywin pull away again.
Man, it feels like every item is almost viable here. I've got a Hydra's on Mask this game. We've got a Heartwood Amulet in the solo lane for Scary D for the magical protections he wants. Shift the Shield for Homie FA. Doom Orb! I'm losing my mind.
The real spice would be Hydra's Lament Medusa. But I highly doubt that Zatman would ever want to do that in a competitive match.
Why is that?
Because Hunters still get the benefit of using the ability into the bonus physical power. It's 50% more. It's actually very effective in a trading matchup, but a rather risky buy at a pro level.
Axe into the face, gets the beads and the petrify. Snoopy dashes away, but Zapman gives chase. Round the corner, Neilmar's here looking for the hammer time, and he finds it. But in the sky, to the rescue, it's Homie Efe, forcing them back and making sure Snoopy survives. That's the end of that one. A nice little trade in the dual lane.
I think that's all Homie wanted in the end. Jigs even showing up for good measure because Snoopy could have very easily fallen there had Neilmar decided to commit. He just didn't want a chance being turned on because he knew that Homie Efe was up in the sky.
Brave as Snoopy to hold his beads, though. Don't you think? He got hit by that hammer and didn't panic there. He didn't panic beads. He just ate it and went, okay.
That's just understanding because of the way that Zapman had turned. Snoopy bound to have seen that in the player cam, and with that in mind, he knows that there wouldn't be initial follow-up from Zapman. Also, Zap used everything in his kit already.
Yeah, I will say, I think the one thing about professional level players as well is that they don't instantly beads just because you get CC'd, you know? Is there going to be follow-up that's going to kill me? Can I time it to the best advantage? Sometimes they misjudge it a little bit and we'll call them out for it, but that's because we have the benefit of spectator and the whole big picture of the game. Homie Efe needs a bit of help here in the jungle. He's going to get away unless Paul can catch him, but just that dash was enough to get him away from Paul's final couple of hits from the ultimate that he was after. Mask is hunting for the blood of Homie Efe, but he won't find it, unfortunately. Homie chose the right path in, went to the tier 2, and now Mask is in a bit of an awkward spot, but Axe off the mark.
Won't get cut off just yet by Snoopy, but with Jigs wrapping around his backside, he knows that his football is being invaded. It's just dropped way too quickly for CLG to do anything about it.
Oriwin is on the rotation here too now, and Neilmar's a little bit far forward. He's going to be a little bit careful. Can they get in range for the axe? Axe off the mark from Snoopy. Predicted the wrong pathing from Neilmar there. Right-hand side, Scary D though, with this lane pressure, looking to invade and strip away the buffer and Final K as well again. That's a 2-level lead now for the solo lane of Trifecta.
Great job by Scary D as well to maintain so much control over this solo lane. Just looking at the towers alone, you can see that there is a very clear advantage for the RDO in this laning phase, and part of that is due to the fact that Final K prioritizes itemization a little bit differently. It seems as though he's building more team-based, and Scary D is looking for the direct deliverance of what's going to suit him best for the lane.
It's kind of how RTL plays the laning phase, because all her damage to clear the wave can also poke at the same time. So you're taking poke consistently in this lane. Whatever you're playing against the RTO, you're going to take damage from the ranged abilities and the melee ones as the creeps all group up nicely. Definitely a tricky character to deal with in the laning phase, but as long as you survive, that's a real key against an RTO.
Final K is trying to just hold on to this tower as long as possible, because the longer that tower stays standing, the more time Scary D is going to spend in solo, which means Scary D won't be involved in the team fights.
Vanish didn't really find a mark there from Paul. He was looking for a quick whip round the corner from CLG, and Neilmar was there to follow suit. Right hand side, Scary D's a little bit far forward, but they've not recognized that now. Final K's actually hunting for him. Like, where did he go? There's nothing up in my jungle. I guess I'll take these just in case he's on this side.
These ward placements are so finicky as well, because you can see the range actually on each of them, but the way that CLG have positioned their wards, it still marks the choke points. It's just that Trifecta sentries can't spot out where the vision is at either.
Funny enough, when you mentioned that as well about CLG, look, you talk about the wards, but they're actually very defensive wards overall. It's on their half of the map. They're making sure that Trifecta can't go for invasions time and time again, and Trifecta have been trying to do that on the right-hand side consistently so far.
They really just want that purple buff. They know where to try and stress the pressure at, and that's to keep Snoopy pinned down. Last game he had a really successful Medusa matchup into Zapman, and now he's getting a little bit of a taste of his own medicine, because even as Ullr being a little bit ahead of Zap in terms of XP, it does seem like he's struggling for the poke war advantage.
You mentioned the purple buff. It did get a couple of changes in the last patch, so they will cheekily get back in there to defend that blue buff for Final K. But yeah, the purple buff now shreds protections and stacks. Reduces the protections of the gods around them on the enemy team, but also stacks with another purple. So if you get both of them, two characters can make sure someone's got a lot less protections.
Check out Mask and Neilmar now, eyeing that red buff pretty heavily, but choosing to back off after seeing that there's more than just one face at it.
On the left-hand side here, I believe he's near a ward, and that's why Homie F is going to the sky, because there's a double fight, and Trifecta took it, but CLG knew all about it. Mask gets ulted by Homie F and loses his life, and then another rat comes into play, and again, and it's Zapman's turn, but a good Petrify buys him a minute, but is it enough?
Ooh, beautiful stun there out of Neilmar. Not sure that's going to be enough to save the life of Zapman, and in fact, no, the tail whip out of Final K is going to make sure to collect him in the end, and that's both of Zap's relics failed to save his life.
And nothing that Scary D or Paul could do. They weren't in the position to help out. They pushed the first wave already. They don't find any objectives in response. And instead, Paul might get Hori win there. We're a bit off more than he could chew then. And now it's a 3v4.
Paul's still not out of it just yet, however. He might end up falling here now. Aegis gonna buy him a moment for now, but FineOK, huge damage on that. Lurking in the water,
Good
gonna make
block.
sure to clean him right up.
What a great plug from FineOK. That would have been death for Homie FA if Scary D reached the edge there. He's going to sustain under the tower, and Scary's going to do his best solo lane impression. But it won't be enough to keep him alive. FineOK onto a killing spree after just one fight.
FineOK is on the hunt right now. 3 kills from that team fight. I think he cleaned up everybody, actually.
Started Binding is so good on Sobek. The extra penetration you get from it. Plus, he's got the Void Stone, too. He's actually swinging pretty damn heavily in this game.
Oh, that was over 600 damage onto Paul from the lurking in the waters. No chance of survival, and I am just really impressed here with the way that CLG effectively counter-engaged into that moment. They knew that Mask had expended all of his cooldowns trying to get a pick onto Snoopy, or at least throw him out of position, and he was successful in pulling the purification beads, but they were just a little bit too deep, too much commitment onto Snoopy when he was hugging his T2 pretty much, and that just made it all too easy for Through the Cosmos to catch right up to Mask.
Yeah, CLG has showed their aggression, but they've also shown they're very good at counter-initiating it if they can see it coming. They can predict what the enemy's going to do, and Trifecta have kind of fallen for the bait in that last engagement. So now they've developed a bit of a lead, not much. It's about 1,200 gold at the moment, I'd say. 1,900 experience ain't so bad. This Gold Fury, though, that could develop that further.
It's only a matter of time before CLG look towards it. Speaking of which, that's going to be Hurriwin's transformation.
Oh,
He's
God,
going
there's
up in the
two!
air. They want Zapman. They know that he doesn't have the actives to defend himself.
There's rats everywhere! Someone call an exterminator! Gold Fury goes down! CLG, get it! Zapman removes one of them from the map. Jigs is in the air, and when he lands, Zap gets a double. Zap has had enough. He wants to step on the gas now and push his team forward towards maybe a tier 1 in mid lane.
Hurriwin just got clapped by Zapman, and Zap's not over it just yet. He's got all this pent-up aggression, and he's meeting it with Paul, who's going to end up finishing off Homie Efe's life. Now could be Trifecta's turn to finally get a little bit of pressure going on the map. They're looking to siege this T1 tower in mid.
Yeah, they're kind of stuck between Pyro or go for the tier 1. They're going to get tier 1. They should get Pyro too. They don't lose left-hand tower at the same time, however, to Snoopy. So that's okay. I'll cancel that. Scary D will come back to make sure that doesn't happen. But what can FineOK do? Does he go for the cheeky attempt at saving this?
But
I
look
don't think
at
he can.
everything that CLG just lost from
Beautiful.
one push out of Trifecta, and it's not over just yet. They might even end up losing their own Hunter because Snoopy is not safe underneath the tower. You're starting to remember why Artio is so annoying against so many different gods. That cripple field just lasts so long.
Cost him his beads, but he will survive, and that's kind of important now. But we just mentioned the gold. He was about 1,200 gold in CLG's favor. Well, now we're all even, and the experience is shot in the other direction. We have ourselves a game we expected coming into this set. Two teams that are vying to break the top 2 of North America, both on the verge of it, and both looking good now with how this game's going.
Hurriwin just bit off more than he could chew. I like the idea behind looking to catch Zapman off guard because you knew that that Lacerate was on cooldown, but when you are inside the enemy's territory by yourself, there's very little chance that you're going to still find that pick and get out alive, and it kind of just slipped his mind how much damage the Petrify into the Acid Spray plus the Viper shots. Hurriwin did not last very long.
Both these Hunters going for exactly the same build so far too. Transcendence into Warrior Tabby, followed up by the Crusher for the extra dot damage and attack speed you get from that. But Homie FA is caught Mask in the jungle alongside Jigs. The clap was too much and the rat gets a life. Into the sky goes the other rat too, I believe. Or at least one of them, Homie FA towards Zapman, gets the Petrify out in defense, but Snoopy's not done. He smells blood and he's going to take a trade. Almost a one-on-one, I'd say, but Zapman forced to use his abilities beforehand thanks to the pressure from Homie FA.
Not too sure that Homie really wants to let this one go. Trying to allude to Zapman that he's still going to look for a commitment here, but Neomon will prevent Homie FA from backing immediately. FineOK could look for the pluck here.
Yeah, I was going to say, if Homie hit those Acons, then I think Neilmar could have been the one in trouble, but the zone work is what they're after to get the tier 1 tower on the left-hand side, and that's exactly what's about to happen now. Zap forced back to base, Mask was dead, meant Neilmar couldn't stop them all on his own, so a tier 1 on the left falls down. The second one of the game, because the one in mid lane has already fallen on the Counter Logic side of the map.
We've seen this all one time before. However, Scary D looking to put pressure out Snoopy. That's going to force the jump away, but it's all about Trifecta looking to make their counter siege against CLG.
Not enough damage though, because FineOK is over here to protect too, so that's going to help them out. Didn't even have to use the teleport to get over here. Meanwhile, right-hand side, Horuman's going to get a tier 1 tower there because he's going to get left unchecked, so Trifecta commit to the left-hand side and get themselves one, and it looks like they want to keep going.
T1 simply isn't worth trying to contest right now, but the T2 is an entirely different story. With Neilmaw on their side, it won't take too long for this T2 to end up falling.
He's fighting Horuin on the right. Horuin low on mana, has no Aegis now. Beads also available. No ultimate, but Mask doesn't fully commit there. It cost him his blink to go for that play, but didn't invest his ultimate either.
Mask kind of just understood that Horuin had the movement speed advantage with the mass that he just finished off. He's got the Boomers online one more time, so that's going to make it relatively easy for him to invis and run away. But now, homie, he spotted out Mass. I don't know if Mass has spotted out homie, however.
Oh, he did. He did. You can clearly see that in this guy. However blind you might be in the world of Smite, that tree is really obvious. You know, you're like, well, there's clearly someone on that.
Hey, sometimes they don't look up.
How can you not look up? You don't even have to look up.
You would be surprised.
That's true.
You would be very surprised, I think. But Mask, I'm sure, like you mentioned, because he knows he's against Homie FA, and with Horuin having backed, there's bound to be somebody just looking to get an advantage.
In the world of Smite, sometimes you can get away and understand what's going on in the game by audio, and sometimes you can do it visually. And to be fair, Ratatoska has pretty good tells on both.
Well, it's rather loud in that ultimate, yes. So he probably, I think the audio cue into the visual cue definitely helps out. But now,
nice.
Trifecta, they still are not really all that willing to directly engage onto CLG there in the mid lane. Both sides fairly grouped up, however, just missing one player each. This could be a good fight.
Yeah, FidoK going to eat a hammer for a second, but this is all about the Oracles, first of all, which gives some free vision. Scary going to catch Homie Effie in an awkward spot for a second, forcing him to dash away. But CLG a little bit early there, because the Gold Fury's still not up, and neither is those Oracles yet, and so Trifecta now have a chance to come in and clear up some of these wards.
This is already going drastically better than their last time around, however, for Trifecta, because now they're the ones who can actually attempt to pull this Gold Fury. They're just looking to bait CLG into this Gold Fury pit. They want the fight.
And where is everybody is the question. Horuin's in the left-hand side, and on the middle lane, you can see Ratatoska just positioned nicely. So both those global ultimates available with Ratatoskas could come into play.
It's a large possibility, and I don't think that Trifecta are pulling this Gold Fury because they actually think that they can successfully slide it away from CLG. They just really want the fight to take place because right now they've got more than enough damage online to where I think as long as they're able to force the attention to be split again from CLG, I think that's where we see the advantage come into play for Trifecta, because I've noticed Horuin has been going off by himself a lot more often this game with those Ratatoska ultimates as opposed to the same target like last game.
Scary D going to blink in and go aggressive towards Snoopy, keeping in the fight, and now Mask getting plucked and thrown into the sky. One rat is up, and that is Homie Efe. Horuin turns into terror, and now goes in with the Morrigan to allow Homie Efe to pick up Zapman. Mask on the run, Mask is dead too. Double for Homie Efe as Neilmar manages to bring down Horuin at least, but still, Trifecta struggling and Paul on his own.
But at least CLG still have their hunter Snoopy, and he's handling Scary D and Neilmar all by himself. The hunt is on right now for Paul. He's already lost his beads, he's just lost his Aegis, and he's still trying to stay alive.
Jake's gonna give chase, the route will be good for him to be brought down. He's 3 for 1 in CLG's favor. Could be 4 if Scary D gets picked here. Neilmar's gonna come around to try and help him out, but an axe to the face slows down the bear, and the walls help out too. Slowly but surely, Catchy Monkey goes down RTO.
You hate to see it happen, but there's just no escape on that one for Scary D. Great placement, although not directly intentional, still helped to cut off that pathway for Scary D.
10-6 then, gold lead ever so slightly in CLG's favor, but that team fight was big for them. Because of the respawns, they've got a chance to look at the Gold Fury or the Pyromancer here if they so choose, and with this heading to the right side, it might even be a Fire Giant.
And all of that kind of just a trickle-down effect from Zapman being the first one to fall in that engagement. I think that Zapman has been a large part of the reason, even though the player damage seems a little bit deceiving here at 6,200 only for the Medusa, but he's had a lot of great bursts against carries like Horuin, Homie Efe, and Snoopy.
Pluck from Fine. Okay, great blink, but Neilmar leaps away nicely. Wraps around the corner, but strains a Horuin who gets the stun. Big ultimate out from Mask, but doesn't really do a lot as Snoopy evaporates the tank.
And look at the Reds go. They're looking to just run down Zetman in the backside. He has no chance to escape this one. Beautiful whoop, though, from Paul. Going to buy him a little bit of time, but just not enough for him to get underneath that T2.
Zatman falls, and now 2 members there. The dual lane from Trifecta not available. And this is going to swing CLG back towards the Fire Giant area. Could they just take it here, do you reckon?
It would be a little bit risky, but I don't think that they have to worry about anyone from Trifecta trying to interfere for the moment, because their attention has been diverted towards that Gold Fury. They fully understand trying to contest Fire Giant with only 3 members and one of them not even having a pretty huge team fighting ultimate. It's just not worth the risk, because they would end up losing a lot more than just the Fire Giant if they take that engage.
You can't always get what you want, but you can get what you need sometimes, and the gold will definitely be useful for Trifecta here. CLG going to get a bit more bonus gold on the right-hand side. 1,500 gold in the coffers for that tower falling. Another 1,500 in the mid lane will make that 3,000 advantage. And then there's only one more tower left over to make it 4.5k. Not bad work for 2 seconds worth.
This Morrigan Ratatasker combination is just Zetman and Paul's worst nightmare, because whether it's one or both of them, they are almost certainly guaranteed to die if they have to endure 2 through the Cosmos.
Trifecta, though, I mean, they've allowed this composition to go through again. They saw it in game 1. They saw what Hurrywin can do with this Morrigan, with the double rat composition, and went, you know what? This isn't the problem that we were having. We need to adjust some other things in the map, let them have those gods again. We just need to pick a little bit different and play a little bit different. And to be fair, around that very first Gold Fury fight that we saw before the Gold Fury was taken earlier on, it looked good because it made it 5-5. It showed that the team fight prowess was pretty good.
Sometimes hindsight is 20/20, however, and sure, there's definitely ways that Trifecta can effectively fight into this combination, but I almost feel in some ways they would just be better off not having to worry about it altogether.
And I'm looking at CLG now, who have this Fire Giant on all 5 members. This is a similar situation to game 1, where I'm like, you could split the difference and just keep Homie FA in the mid lane or the right lane as everyone barrels down the left-hand side. Their engage under Phoenix is pretty solid too.
I will say, I also think that if they're managed to all be grouped up, like 5 versus the full 5, then Trifecta definitely has a way to stand their ground. And we saw that at the Gold Fury pit engagement for a moment, but it's just tricky to keep that going, because we know how hectic it can be with those comms, especially trying to decide, is it Homie VFA, is it Hurrywin who's committing onto me? I'm not sure. I just had to use my Aegas, beads all over the place. It's just so much chaos for Scary D and Neilmaw to try and contain.
I noticed the player damage as well on the left-hand side. Hurrywin and Homie FA, they're not anywhere near the top at the moment with how it's going. They're just doing an average job, but they're setting up so much with the confusion and the CC chains that they're putting off. Scary D gonna allow his blessing, well, his Magi's Cloak to get removed from him immediately, instead of just trying to save that for the CC chains that will be coming soon after the siege on the left has begun, as has the one in the mid lane. Singly by Homie FA at the moment, as you'd expect, and Mask is there to defend.
Zap's got to be really careful with his Petrify. Doesn't want to expend it too soon before CLG really try to commit towards this Phoenix. Otherwise, I think we definitely just see all the members barreling down that left-hand side.
This is just up to Mask to try and clean up as much as he can, but here goes Homie FA and Hurrywin at the same time. Very telegraphed by the 2 of these players from CLG, and Trifecta fall back. Double dunk on Scary D and Neilmaw, but it's not a ton of damage against those tanks. Phoenix is still alive, and Trifecta can hold quite easily against that.
For the moment, but just look at that Phoenix health. It is not the healthiest Firebird that you would want for the moment, and there's another wave pushing in here pretty soon. We just saw Fine-OK end up backing to base, but he'll be right back in no time thanks to that teleport.
Well, here comes the next wave. But Trifecta are healing, trying to get back into formation as quick as possible, trying to make sure that Snoopy can't get in here for the kills, and that's why Scary D goes straight to the back line. Phoenix is perfectly healthy. Fine-OK gets bursted for taking up for so long. In goes Jigs, trying to cause him to confusion, but he takes a lot of poke too. Then in goes Snoopy, but out goes Snoopy as fast as his legs can carry him, because Paul went to the sky and caused some problems. Misses the banish though, but it's CLG running away for the whole of their life as they're getting run down by Trifecta.
Just look at the burst damage here from Paul. This is the rundown that they needed to happen, and it's finally taken place because CLG just got a little bit too ambitious underneath that Phoenix. They need to have those Ratatasker ultimates to cut off Paul. He is the main defender, I think, right now for Trifecta, and he is putting in the work for it.
There's definitely a real big difference, Taco, between ulting away, being in a Ratatosker and ulting out of nowhere so no one can see you, or doing it in both lanes in the face of your opposition. Mask could clearly see Homie FA go into the sky in mid, and at the same time, Horiwin showed himself transforming on the left-hand side and going to the sky. So Trifecta's like, okay, you gave us the early warning signal you're going to engage. We can just chill, and you focus the tanks anyway. We'll be okay.
And I'm not sure that that was entirely intentional or if that was just a little bit of miscommunication on CLG's behalf, but either way, definitely working out much better for Trifecta that time because they don't have to worry about one after the other consecutively. That's what's been making this combo so deadly, and knowing that both are just going to be landing at the exact same time, sure, just throw Neomall and Scary D to absorb the blow.
Giving Trifecta a bit more confidence now too, and the problem is, so 30 minutes in the game, Goldie's not going to matter as much. Neither is experience, as everyone will slowly reach level 20. Only the support's a little bit slacking behind as you'd expect. But now it's almost more of an even game where Trifecta could start to feel a bit more confident with how this is going.
Might start feeling like they're trying to pull some teeth here for CLG's end because they've had a pretty clear advantage, I would say, throughout the majority of this match. So to now be coming to a halt with that can introduce some frustration factors.
Fine, okay on the front line, and a chip away at Scary D with the support of his team in the background. Remember that we didn't see the Pyromancer go the way of Trifecta there, so it was a bit of a boon for him. Plug didn't find a home from Fine OK. Mask with a disengaging ultimate there, but in the sky, there we go. Homie FA towards Zap again, but he couldn't find enough to get the kill yet. And Zap's doing a damn good job of returning fire. Still falls down as Jigs gets that kill. Mask could be soon to follow too, but he will pick up Homie FA at least. Can he escape? It looks like he can. Horiwin really wants this kill. And he's not going to find it.
Not so long as Mass has that blink available. Instead, it's going to be Scary D who could end up falling here if he's not careful. Staying underneath this mid-end Phoenix, he's got Neomall right behind him in that Draconic form, and it will force CLG back for the moment. Only losing Zapman on Trifecta's behalf and Homie FA on the other side for CLG, but that could have gone a lot worse. And that was the first time in a long time, I believe, that we actually saw CLG manage to effectively split up the two sides of Trifecta.
And the lead that CLG had is slowly just being gathered in now. That's the first time in the jungle fights we've seen where CLG didn't just wash over Trifecta. Trifecta looked more disciplined. They realized where the prime targets are going to be. Obviously, it's Paul and Zapman. Mass Ultimate slowed down the aggression from CLG too through that narrow corridor. And it's just stabilized Trifecta for a second, you know? It's not them in the lead by any stretch, but they stabilized.
And I think it might actually start working out better in Trifecta's favor now if Paul and Zapman continue to stay split apart from each other, because we saw Paul go right and we saw Zap go left. So CLG had to choose the commitment for one or the other, and they picked Zapman this time around. So Paul manages to survive and get some great turnaround damage going.
Fine, okay, going to show off his burst towards... Sorry. Fine, okay, going to get shown off the burst that Paul has available to him, but didn't really get as much as he bargained for there. Plenty of magical defense for Fine, okay, so the burst from Paul won't be as impactful, and that's really what Paul will bring, is that big burst from one big spike nowadays, not the consistent damage you'd expect from a Freya.
And that's all that you really want, to just try and proc that Northern Lights every single time with your secondary ability on Freya, because you're going to get a nice swing out of it, but only for the first real tick. After that, it's just Paul trying to make use of this demonic ring and the Telkines.
Okay, Fire Giant getting low. Trifecta getting slowly baited in. Magi's blessing down on Scary D, or Cloak as I should say. It's not a blessing anymore. But it was only a bit of poke from CLG. They're trying to test the waters to see if Trifecta are going to come in here. Homie FA still pushing in mid lane, which I like, because he's got the ultimate. Horiwin trying to pop some bubbles. Quick banish out from Paul onto Fine OK to relieve some pressure there. This is definitely a dance of death between the two now.
Scary D a little bit poked out, but the advantage also for CLG is that they don't have to worry about the sustain game. They've got the Terra on their side. Snoopy going to start pulling that Fire Giant one more time just to see who's still lurking, and Trifecta, they want to respond. Now's their time.
And Neomall's going to lead him in. Full focus on Fine OK for some reason there. That's not working out good. A lot of CC consumed, and now Homie FA joins the fray again. Maskell's early on and gets the Olmob to the backline, but gets evaporated at the same time. Snoopy goes down though, but so did two carries from Trifecta.
But just look at Paul. Paul's just putting in the work right now. Fine, okay, forced the dash away, trying to get his back off so we can hopefully look the TP in. Horiwin still on the disengage. Beautiful Aegis there out of Horiwin to avoid a nice burst of damage, and Paul turn and burn immediately onto Homie FA.
Scary D's done the work on the front line. He needs Paul to follow suit, but round the back comes Fine OK and Homie FA again, collapsing on both sides of Trifecta. Scary D's going to fall. The walls will crush onto Paul, but he will take Homie with him. 4 versus 1. And not the best time to de-transform there, Neilmar. No choice in it, obviously, but he'll live for another second, and his job now is to run and juke as long as his little dwarven legs can.
He's just trying to waste some time, but
Yes.
just look at how fast Horwin is. He is zooming to catch this Fafnir. Took him almost no time at all, and that is the benefit of having the Boomba's mask. All that movement speed finally paying off.
And this Fire Giant will go to CLG. It's going to take him a hot minute to bring this Fire Giant down, to be fair. But Snoopy will actually get the
Snoopy
buff
will
because of
get there.
that. I don't think Mask and Snap can get it. They might actually get it in
They
time.
might actually make
Yeah.
it there in time, in fact, because Snoopy hasn't headed immediately towards this Fire Giant pit. There is a chance, I think, for Zetman and Mask to maybe look to contest. They'd have to be very quick about it, however, and no, they're choosing to farm out the wave instead.
Yeah, I could tell by how Mask left the base whether he thought he could get to that Fire Giant or not, and clearly wasn't to be the case. Fire Giant will go down. They're going to hold it, actually, or will they? Give it to Homie FA as well. What a great call.
They don't have the benefits of seeing the overall map
Exactly.
like we do. For anybody back at home wondering, well, why wouldn't they just run to it anyway? Because if they both run to it, they know that there's at least 3 members from CLG waiting at the Fire Giant pit. They have no tell on how healthy they are,
Yep.
what their current status is, because Jigs, of course, we all know how great Terra Sustain can be, and it was just a little bit too dangerous for Zap and Mask, I think, to really feel comfortable with looking to contest there.
So, a few minutes ago, we had the Fire Giant around CLG's waist. They tried to siege a Phoenix, and it didn't work out well. Let's try it again, shall we? We'll see if they go down the left-hand side and look for it this time round. And if those ultimates from the 2 Ratatoskas that could be available are a little bit better timed.
But again, CLG have kind of struggled to break through the defenses of Trifecta underneath their Phoenixes because of how much damage. And we've seen how much work Paul has been putting in here. He has jumped through the player damage numbers and in fact is sitting at number 2.
Gotta stay alive, and that's the one thing now that do we see CLG focus attention? It's been a lot towards Zapman, who put a lot of work in earlier on in the game, but now being focused so much that he's having a hard time of things. And now it's Paul that's swinging, so maybe they switch towards Paul here.
If they start to focus more so on Paul, but then that's just going to leave Zapman open to try and take over the damage dealing aspect. And
Well, you got to pick one. I mean, which
Zap
would you?
has at least managed to get off his kit on one member, and that is usually also ended up leading towards a kill. So his player damage might be sitting relatively low right now.
Look at this, right hand side. Homie FA has managed to get that Phoenix on his own there because CLG did what they did in game 1 and went all 3 lanes at the same time. Homie might even get himself a solo. Can I get Mask here? Mask trying to save his ultimate. Jukes out the ultimate from Homie. Blink for Blink, and Homie wins the battle. But can he escape the wrath of Paul, who's over there now? Horwin takes to the sky to help out against Paul over here too, but Zapman's there for cleanup crew on the right-hand side. Paul will survive 1 for 1. Jungler's down. 3 Phoenixes now down. CLG are on the advantage for sure now. A difficult test for Trifecta.
They've got to worry about the fire crease, but CLG, they're not out of it just yet. This game is no guarantee as long as Zapman and Paul are still standing.
But no ultimates for them. So I don't think it's as easy. They're just going to be careful of the burst. And the front line needs to do a damn good job tanking. Neilmar and Scaredy have done that this game. Tried to be in there and protect him as much as possible. And that's what it's about now. Keep them off the Titan, make them keep resetting it so it keeps healing back up.
Great burnout of Snoopy's beads there by Scary D. That's going to be an important relic to be left on cooldown. And just look at the respect CLG are giving this Medusa and Freya. They do not want to risk throwing here.
Now I'm looking at relics too, just out of interest to see where they were. They did still have a lot available. Just the ultimates weren't really up and around for most of them, so they don't feel confident trying to end here. Can they just push down as a team, do you reckon? And just all in? Against the
CLG?
Titan? Yeah.
It would be rough because it's very easy, I think, if they were all to be just like trying to swarm the Titan.
But if
for
they do-
Paul and Zetman, just tear him apart.
If they do like the 3-lane push with the fire minions, when as soon as it gets to the Phoenix line, they all just ult and dive the Titan, that should be enough, right? Surely.
I think that the waves can be cleared out fast enough by Trifecta that wouldn't be as effective as it might sound on paper.
Even
It's
with
just,
fire minions?
even with fire minions, I think that Zetman and Paul can both definitely clear out the base well enough, or at least keep the creeps away from the Titan long enough to still find the kills and the workarounds.
Well, CLG in this set so far, they're on the cusp of winning game 2 and taking the first set for themselves in the full split. It's looking fantastic from them, and their performance has been solid, but the question is they've people at home watching the SPL teams that will have to face off against CLG. I'm interested to see if they are going to get that Morrigan Ratatoska many more times this split with how it's looking right now.
The big issue, too, for Mask and why he lost that trade so heavily is because Homie Efe, he's got the Mantle of Discord, Shifter Shield, and the Void Shield. All those physical procs that are being stripped away from Mask, and the power that's being added to Homie Efe in return is just giving him a pretty easy head-on advantage into the Susano.
Minions on the right hand side, minions on the left, being pushed in by all CLG, but CLG fall back again. They're not going to commit. Do they want to get the Fire Giant against Taco?
They're
Just
going to need
safety?
to play it safe than sorry. But that means that a Phoenix or two could potentially end up respawning here in Trifecta's favor. They've done a great job so far at making sure to stay inside their base. They don't even feel comfortable going into the Phoenix territories when they know CLG is standing right outside of the lines for them.
And it is going to be the Fire Giant, clearly. You can see already Horwin's headed back that direction, as has Snoopy. Jigs and Final K and Homie Efe will be a little bit more front line, a little bit deeper to make sure that no one can sneakily get there from Trifecta to get a ward down for teleports or even sneak down one of the side lanes, you know? So that's why they're hanging around their way they are, which is a good call here. And there's definitely enough damage around that Fire Giant for a couple of members to do it alone.
Well, it's also really smart by Homie Efe and Final K because if you notice, they're the ones clearing out the mid and right-hand lanes so that the Fire Minions are constantly pressuring or pressing into Trifecta's base. They never get a chance to fully push those waves outside of the halfway mark in the lane, and so that's preventing Trifecta from being able to leave their base. They've got to be worried about those fire creeps, like you mentioned earlier, sitting just on the outside.
And talk about that, sit on the outside, the Phoenixes are about to respawn right first, now the left, and then finally the middle will come up in tow. Left-hand side, CLG send all their members there, outside of Homie Efe, who's been left 1v1 with Mask again, who won that trade last time round, by the way, for you fans at home. Left Phoenix doesn't take long at all, and now off towards middle area goes CLG.
Everybody's grouped up right now, and not a whole lot remaining for Trifecta to try and defend. These Phoenixes are just simply not healthy enough.
Paper is what they are. Snoopy brought that down his own, but it ate a lot of damage for that. Scary D going to keep giving that chase potentially onto Snoopy, who's completely out of his fight. He needs some sustain here, so the Fire Giant will give him that.
Love it. Scary D pulled attention away from CLG so they couldn't further collapse onto Zapman. So Snoopy, sure, he gets away, and that kind of sucks for Trifecta.
Yeah.
But at least they keep Zap alive, and you need both Zap and Paul to effectively make CLG concerned about fully committing.
All about the right-hand Phoenix then. Two tanks in the mid lane, however, here. Three members of CLG on the right-hand side instead. Mask, Neilmar, and Paul Scary D all on the right. Everyone to the right side is Final K, blinks to the back line, looks at Paul, who gets his beads off early. Pokes the damage off onto Jigs, who's eating quite a bit of that, and Final K soon after. Phoenix still alive, and CLG trying to fall back a little bit here. Hurry went to the sky early on. This will create a bit of a zone work at the moment. And then there's another one to follow up, double dip on the same target. Not sure about that. The knockups don't really work out as well as you want it to. Trifecta hold, and Mask goes in.
Surprisingly enough, he managed to find Hurrywin. Aegis has been forced out from the Morgan, and now he's on the run. Scary D manages to spot him out, though, on the RDO. But look at the front side. Two different ends of Trifecta being pinched right now.
Yeah, Trifecta could have chased them out a little bit further for CLG, but the problem is that the minions are starting to cause problems too. Still the Phoenix stands though. Final K dives in and gets evaporated. Paul credited for the kill and shutting him down, but the Titan, it's whittled down bit by so many fire minions. Luckily enough, their clear's good enough to clear them out relatively fast. CLG though, turned tail and licked their wounds.
Titan still sitting at about 70% health, I would say, 75%, right around that threshold. Still not enough for CLG to comfortably try and run straight in there.
I'm looking at Horwin's build overall here, and I like the build because I'm going to go through it later on, but I think at this stage of the game, full build, maybe you should start looking at maybe trading out some of these items, yeah?
It might be worthwhile to look at removing the Doom or possibly even getting rid of the Boombus mask, excuse me.
I mean, the mobility is
I
there for
always
the
want to
reason.
call it Ringdas because of the red mask.
I know, when I see Messenger's mask now, that's technically what Boombas look like, and that confuses me too. But now that's Bombers and not mask. Oh, look, I just called Horwin out for it. He heard me.
He doesn't like that.
He heard me live and out. He got Divine Ruin, which I actually really like here. It's something that you may not notice, but there is a nice bit of healing on this composition.
It's a lot of self-sustain. It's not so much that they have AoE heals like what Jigs can provide for the team, but you've got Paul with Polynomica and Freya alone. always beneficial off of a little bit of lifesteal. She can definitely heal right back up.
Snoopy went for the Elixir of Defense, the 3k potion that did get a buff, by the way, those elixirs, where they survive forever, but defense over offense,
I don't blame him.
I don't think defense isn't worthwhile, though. Like, I'm going to go mathy for a second, right? But it's not worth getting the Elixir of Defense over Elixir of Power if you build pure power. Because the defense isn't giving you enough because you don't have any defense in your build.
But who's the ones that are attacking him? You have to take that into consideration also.
That's
I don't
true.
think he buys that because he's concerned about Paul or Zetman. Those two are going to kill him through it
Steal the
regardless.
tanks.
I think it's mostly because of the fact that Scary D or Neilmal have been the ones harassing him away from
That's
these
fair.
engagements. And even in mid lane, that instance where we saw Snoopy falling back, it was because he took a huge chunk of his life from Scary D, but Scary D doesn't have a very heavy damage build. He's got cooldown boots and a Void Stone, and everything after that is just him trying to utilize those cooldowns to spam down Snoopy's health bar.
Back to the right-hand side we go then. Middle and left-hand Phoenix are due to respawn momentarily, and CLG are still looking to whittle down this right one. Left one has come up again, and Trifecta's defense is just holding. They're not winning this game, they're just holding as long as possible, it feels like. And we're hoping for one throw. If CLG get wiped, Trifecta, I don't know if they can end the game straight away. They probably can with the respawn.
Through
right
left-hand
now.
side, possibly.
Yeah. Even with those extra towers, I still think they could. Here we go again, them. Right side, full investment from CLG. Meanwhile, Mask on the left-hand side trying to defend the Phoenix. His Scary D keeps fine okay pinned in place and under a lot of pressure here as well. That's going to force the Lurkin, and the water's out too. And keeps CLG at bay, but the Fire Giant has respawned here, Taco.
This is just the typical war of attrition that you can come to expect when the late game carries finally hit their stride. Paul, I think, has been the main reason why CLG have just continued to struggle time and time again. Between Paul and Scary D, I think that the combination of both damage and crowd control is what's really made life so complicated for CLG, especially Homie FA and Hurry when this Ratatosker and the woes of a late game Ratatosker at that are starting to show.
And this time around, though, it looks like they're going to split up a little bit more again. Homie FA is back in the mid lane here. We're going to have a pause between the two at the moment, a critical moment in this game, 19-12. Can CLG even hold this realistically? I mean, it just feels like inevitably they're going to lose, but when?
For Trifecta, it just gets really... It's complicated because if they do get a successful team wipe off of a failed Phoenix engage, then they might be able to barrel down mid lane or even that left-hand side, possibly look to take a Phoenix. But as the game goes longer and longer, you start to approach the 70-second, the 80-second, and possibly even the 90-second. We don't know how long this game could possibly stretch to. And with that in mind, CLG still just have to give that certain air of respect, and that's why we see them constantly choosing to disengage every time they get poked out or end up losing even one member, because one member sometimes is all it takes for everything to start to fall apart.
Okay, so I've got a bit of news for you. I'm sorry. I just got word from production about a bit of a technical issue we've got. We're not going to be able to bring you the end of the game. Unfortunately, it's really annoying, and I'm sorry to say they're not going to be able to bring you a conclusion of that because of a technical problem. But I can let you know that straight after that, literally straight after that, they barrel down and end the game is what I've heard. The game is over. CLG did take it 2-0. I'm really sad we can't bring you the conclusion. Yeah, let's throw to the desk and break down that 2-set victory for CLG. I'm just really sad that that was the end of this set in terms of being able to show you the game. Let's get it down. Aggro, Tolly, thank you.
Hey, thanks, guys. Yeah, again, sorry for the technical problems. Again, we will not be able to show you the final moments of that CLG versus Trifecta win, but as Hinduman mentioned, from there, that was the most successful siege. CLG able to break the base and finally get the Titan. So instead of focusing on the unfortunate nature, let's look at the big picture here, and that CLG comes in and finds that 2-0 victory over Trifecta.
It was impressive play all across the board, but I got to narrow it down to final K on the Sobek, being able to just blink in, being able to initiate for his team, setting up jigs, doing a wonderful job. Yet again, Heroin on the Morrigan with the Bumba's mask, just kind of, wiggling his way through team fights, able to chase down very important kills.
I think a big thing for Trifecta fans looking forward to this fall split and looking for a little bit more from this team is that historically they've had trouble understanding the meta very quickly. And usually towards the end of splits or whenever they start to get a hang on the meta, they do very well, but it takes some time to get there. I think this is an encouraging set to watch because Trifecta's a good team, but CLG came in with one game plan, and executed it in both games, very similar styles. So
Sure.
as long as they can continue to grow and get different styles to play in this current meta, I think CLG could be in a really good spot.
I think CLG can use this and run with it a little bit momentum based to start off the fall split. I love the Ratatasker and Morgan combination, or sometimes the Ratatasker double Terra combination, whatever Heroin really felt like doing at the moment. Something that kind of hurt Trifecta throughout this game number 2 was no shell at all
Yeah.
for Trifecta between Scary D and Neilma. It was the blink and teleport for Scary D, whereas Neilma went for the sprint and the horrific emblem instead of the shell.
Homie played very well on the Ratatosker yet again. He played it in both Game 1 and Game 2. Do have to give credit to Paul on the other side for Trifecta. He had a great game on that Freya, was near the top of the player damage charts towards the end, and made a couple really big plays, turning around for First Blood instead of it going for CLG. It went against CLG for Paul. So I think Trifecta still has some moments that you can look to and be like, okay, they might be all right, but do keep in mind, just based on what we've seen on Twitter, Mask will be taking a break after this week. They do have a game later on this week, so Mask will be playing in that, but interested to see where Trifecta is going to go as a whole from here after week 1.